We are live, and contrary to what Multi Gunman said, we started before 8:01. So suck it, Multi Gunman. We are not late. I know that there's a delay, but I don't care. I hit the play button before it was 8:01, so we're not late.
Well, I mean, all that matters is what it says on the upload date. So the upload time will show it correctly. So that's really all that matters.
Yeah. And so we'll see what happens. And if the upload time is wrong, I will blame YouTube and their algorithm.
Ain't that true?
Yeah, because so there you go. So Thomas got an ad for weight loss. I think they might be trying to say something, considering both me and Lore are on the heavy side, and the name of the stream is Fat Overlords. Maybe YouTube is trying to suggest something. I don't know.
Right, or the algorithm picked it up. It's like, oh, this must be a weight loss channel.
Yeah, it must be. We must be all about weight loss. So hope everybody's doing well. So before I get into the absolutely shameless attempt that Lore did, and just absolutely disgusting, I gotta say, that Lore would do this and one-up me like he did. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about, we've got new Star Trek, finally! We've got new freaking Star Trek after this long drought, because, man, it's been a while. And we have episode 1 of season 2 of Lower Decks. And so, Lore, I haven't talked to you about it at all. So what did you think of episode 1, season 2, Lower Decks?
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen your opinion on it either, have I? Yeah,
No, this is the first time we've talked to each other at all about it. So Lore and I are going in completely cold. No idea what the other person thinks.
I mean, it was a standard Lower Decks video episode. I don't think there's really anything crazy or magical about it. They went pretty toxic with Tindy, but I honestly, when you think about it, it really does fit her
I thought
character.
Tindy was hilarious. So he's chasing him around and trying to take his brain.
Well, they went toxic with her, but yeah. It was intriguing to watch, and it's with her character, so I'm not that upset about it.
I gotta say, okay, so first of all, I'll say this: I enjoyed the crap out of it. I first of all, I'm a big TOS fan, so all the Gary Mitchell references I loved. I love the fact that they resolved it by dropping a boulder on him,
right?
And by the way, all the people that say Mariner's just a Mary Sue, she's Burnham 2.0. Mariner did not resolve the problem. And in fact, twice in the episode, the resolution was to do exactly not what she wanted to do, which I kind of liked. So I like the boulder drop scene, but the best thing in the world to me was the last 30 seconds, was watching the 30 seconds on the Titan at the very end, and just once again Jonathan Frakes going for broke, absolutely nuts, with his jazz references, saying, we don't have enough, we've got too many licks and not enough comp, and Boimler going, I don't know what you're talking about, as they're going into the anomaly, and I was just absolutely loving it.
Well, that worried me, actually. I got to be honest. I think Boimler actually earned becoming a competent officer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I honestly am concerned that they're going to have him regress. We don't really have enough to know. And I'll say, I like that Mariner accepted that he earned his position and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I hope they don't revert with his character.
I don't think they're going to revert, but I think that he's going to think that he's in, and I think I think that being on what they're referring to now, and this is kind of weird to me, is that Admiral Freeman referred to getting off the Cerritos and getting to a capital ship.
Right.
What is the definition of a capital ship? because the Cerritos is just as big as the Titan.
Yeah, he may have meant like a. Well, first off, it could, if they're going literal, it could be a large warship, which
Right, like
it could.
a
But
combat type ship.
But when he says that, he might have meant frontline or something.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I hope they do is he recognizes that he had a good thing on the Cerritos, or he knowingly does something that gets him demoted back down. You know what I'm saying? Because we see him and Mariner having something crazy on that buggy from the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I will be interested to see if maybe he takes one for the team, or he just knows that right now Lower Decks is where he should be at.
You're talking about Boimler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Boimler is going to realize that he's not ready for serving on a ship like the Titan.
Right.
And so that because he's in he's just way over his depth.
Right.
And so I did enjoy it, and I thought it was fun. And Sistrus's capital ship is like the Galaxy or Sovereign, but the thing is that there's no clear cut definition, and that was just one of those lines that it's like, wait, what's a capital ship? Because in Star Trek, all the ships that we see are like the size of capital ships.
Right. They all match what a capital ship technically is.
Right.
It's not like a small destroyer or something.
Right, yeah. We don't see any little tiny ships. Even the smallest ships in Starfleet, except for like a runabout, really, anything that's really that they call a starship would be a capital ship.
Right.
But I thought it was fun. It was exactly what Lower Decks is supposed to be. Let's not take it seriously, and people that do take it seriously, let's try to relax and realize it's not meant to be taken seriously. And I know that some people will get upset because, yes, they crack a lot of jokes. Yes, it's true that Hansen tried to eat the Cerritos, but it's a
stuff like that happens, though. Yeah, that happened in the original series and the Next Generation.
Right.
Well, it was only like until you got to, well, I don't even know if it was Voyager or not, but I know that the original series, the Next Generation, and maybe Deep Space Nine, but TOS and TNG for sure did it. So it's not like
in the original series, you had Who Mourns for Anadias, where he grabbed it with a hand. You never had anybody try to eat the ship.
Well, you had them where they were trying to do stuff with the ship in space.
Right.
So, I feel like there was something that tried to, and TNG something tried to eat it for sure. I don't know about original series.
You did have creatures that would try to. Yeah, yes, Thomas. Lore does refer to the original series as TOS. Get used to it. He does that. I don't know why.
TOS is a pretty decent series.
Nobody refers to the Next Generation as Ting, but that's what he does.
Sure, most young people refer to it as TOS. I understand.
You are the only person.
Disco is referred to as Dis. Is referred to as Disco sometimes. I'm the only person that what?
You're the only person I know that regularly refers to the original series as TOS.
Okay. You should meet more Trekkies. We're actually a great bunch. I know maybe it's not in the field or whatever. I know a lot of people that refer to it as TOS. I don't know why you guys get triggered by that.
I'm not triggered. I'm just saying you're the only person I know that does on a regular basis. Now, Darth Maul says, I call it in all caps TOS, but I don't know if you mean TOS or TOS because it's just written out, so I can't.
I'm assuming he's meaning the letters. That's why they're...
I don't know. Alex says not TOS, but TOS. That's what I've always said.
But that's not its name, boys. Its name's not TOS.
It's actually the correct name is Star Trek. That's the name of that show.
You don't call Voyager VOY. Hey, did you watch VOY?
No, you know what I call that show? I call that show Voyager.
You don't watch it you don't watch ENT. Hey, you want to go watch ENT? I don't watch ENT.
Yeah, you know what?
People do call it INT. I have heard INT.
I've never heard Ent.
Okay, I've heard it.
I've always when I'm talking about the various shows, I always say usually I either say Star Trek or the original series and then I'll say Next Gen or Next Generation, and then DS9 or Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. That's how I've referred to the shows. I never say toss.
I think we can agree that we like the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, those old scientists, Discovery. I think we can just agree that we like all of those.
See, now you're just trying to throw some shade just for your dick.
See, somebody said that. Do you know? You get the reference, don't you? Do you remember the reference?
What, those old scientists?
Yes. That was in Lower Decks. Ransom was looking at it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I was making a reference.
Enterprise was from LOTT.
What?
Alex says ENT Enterprise is from LOTT LOL. I don't know. And Jordan says, I call it TOS, all caps. Again, if you do that, I don't know what you mean.
That's why they're saying it.
I know, they're being jerks.
Apparently, Alex calls it Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Seriously, Laura Reloaded, you call it toss. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Ervik says, the Star Trek alphabet. Sistra's throwing the salt. Yes, indeed. And then there's more Lord of the Rings. When they added the Star Trek moniker, it didn't fit. Not that it wasn't Star Trek. Enterprise just fit better. And I still just call it Enterprise generally, because that's just the easiest way to refer to that show.
Apparently, Thomas calls it T.O.S. That's kind of weird, but whatever. I don't care. I don't judge. Thanks for the.
Yeah. Darth Maul says Discovery is STD to me, but I slip and call it Disco. If somebody says STD, Disco, or Discovery, when I'm talking, I usually refer to the show as Discovery. If I'm typing, I'll usually put STD because that's the shortest way to type it. I find that
disingenuous and insulting. I think it's
the abbreviation.
It's the lower. It's not. No, the abbreviation is Discovery. The abbreviation for Voyager is not STV. It's VOY. So the abbreviation for Discovery is Dis or Disco. People just do STD to try to attack it. I find it a
okay. Fine, Dis. Originally,
I'm fine with this.
Originally it was STD, and then they changed it because they realized STD had a potential negative connotation. Right. I don't think that if I type STD for brevity, I'm not saying because it's a venereal disease. I'll type it because of brevity, but generally when I don't type it very often because most of the time I'm talking, and if I'm talking I say Discovery because that's just like I say Enterprise when I'm referring to the Enterprise series. I don't say Ent, or ENT. I do say DS9 because usually that's easier than saying Deep Space Nine.
Right, but I mean, I just think it's a respect. It's fine. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying when most people do it, I look at it as a low form. Right. But it's just been ruined by Fandom Menace. They just have done that so much. That's why I associate.
No, I get it. Some people do it as an insult. And I get that, and I don't think that is a problem that so many. And in fact, it's funny because I was talking about it earlier today. So many people were throwing shade about Alex Kurtzman. And Alex Kurtzman isn't even the person to be throwing shade at because he didn't create the first season of Discovery. He didn't create the whole negative mode of Discovery that people hate so much. And most people have no idea who it is. Even the Phantom Menace, they're all throwing all sorts of shade at Alex Kurtzman, and he's not the man responsible. And in fact, Alex Kurtzman is more or less the person responsible for bringing in characters like Captain Pike, who people like.
Right.
I'm very much hopeful that Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a good show.
Right.
And so I understand, I know you liked season 3. I didn't care for it, but I'm still I'm very hopeful for Strange New Worlds. And as far as Star Trek Discovery season 4, I'm ambivalent towards it.
T- Two things. Thanks, Tony, so much for supporting the channel. Thanks, Mike. I just type it as disco if I feel the need to abbreviate. The ship having platform warp nacelles and an afro is a funny mental image. I'm sure somebody has had to do something like that. It's so. Let me ask you this. I remember what I was about to ask. Do you think season 3 was better than season 1?
Yes, but the problem was season 1 was definitely season 1 was the worst of the 3. I will grant you. I do think that what's his name, was it Brian Fuller? I think was the original showrunner that really created the nihilistic idea, and which was a horrible concept. And I think season 2, however, was by far the strongest of the seasons, but season 2 unfortunately had a crap ending. And I'm sorry, the 5,000 shuttlecraft battle at the end was just an insult to all things Trek, in my opinion. Not to mention the apology tour where everybody had to line up and apologize to Michael Burnham for whatever reason. But season 3, I think, started out actually fairly strong. The first couple of episodes of season 3 I liked, and in fact, episode 2 of season 3, I thought had the potential to lead us into a really good Star Trek feeling season of Star Trek, until the very end of the episode, when all of a sudden we had Michael Ex Machina, where where Michael Burnham has to show up out of the blue and save everybody, like she's literally the savior. And then everybody has to cry and talk about how great it is that Michael's back. And I was like, I literally wanted to punch my TV in the face. Because they had that episode right up until Michael Burnham shows up and saves the day was awesome.
Right. I like Space Negan. I wish they'd done more with him.
Space who?
Space Negan, whoever that guy was in the first episode, who was like, the world has changed and now I rule. White guy with a beard that they made go out into the snow at the end.
Oh, the bad guy.
Yeah, well, one of a couple of bad guys. But yeah, he's Space Negan.
Yeah,
because he carried around the thing,
right? That we thought was going to be back and just never was.
Well, he came back at the end, but he was just a side character at that point. Yeah, that was the problem. They created a lot of interesting points and never really got into it.
Right. And I also liked, I can't remember his name, the Admiral that they brought in, the guy from the Mummy movies. But once again, they have to have everybody say how awesome Michael Burnham is. And I don't understand why the show has to do that. Michael Burnham should not have been promoted to captain at the end of that season. She did absolutely nothing that warranted her promotion. And there were a couple of times where she was just, oh, well, I know that you are the best person to do this. However, Michael, you do it because writing.
Right.
And so that kind of thing I found offensive, and I'm tired of that kind of crap. I doubt that we're going to get any improvement on that in season 4, but we'll see. Now it's Captain Burnham, so she can officially just save the universe. Why not?
Well, I mean, a couple of the other captains have done it, like Kirk and Picard, and
yeah, but she wasn't even the freaking captain.
Well, she is now, so you can be okay with it. You can't have any complaints because the captains are the ones that save it. So
and by the way, And you know that's a lot of line of crap because Kirk didn't always save the day, and neither did Picard.
He did sometimes, and so if she does sometimes, then it works.
And by the way, thank you,
I agree
Aravic.
it's about an away team.
Aravic throws in a couple of bucks and says, "I agree, it's about an away team." It's in the both the original series and Next Generation, and by the way, in Deep Space Nine, it's an ensemble cast, and yes, sometimes Kirk saves the day, sometimes Spock saves the day, sometimes McCoy saves the day. It just depends on the situation and the skills needed. And then sometimes Kirk is supposed to make the decision, but he can't make the decision alone. He needs Spock to help him, or he needs Scotty to help him. He needs people to help.
These are tired arguments, man.
I know you think you might think it's a tired. Of course, you're not interested because you know it's right.
No, it's not about knowing it's right. It's just we've heard it over and over and over again. It's fine. I understand. We'll see what happens when they get to season 4. And I'm sure if she does anything that's great, you'll get mad at her. I understand.
No, it has nothing to. No, it has nothing to do with if she does something. I have no problem with her doing something great, but she has no defined set. What is Michael Burnham's defined set of skills?
I have no interest. I'm not interested. I got to be honest. This is just an old argument.
Well, since you're the one that wants to defend the show,
I don't want to defend the show. I want to move on. That's why I said it's a tired argument. I have no interest in defending the show.
Well, you were saying it's good.
I said Discovery season 3 was better than the other 2, and I actually liked it. I thought it was. I thought it was all right. But I'm not saying like it's great or anything. I thought it was as close to. I thought it was Trek. I thought it was actually Trek, but
it doesn't
not necessarily good Trek. But I thought it was good Trek.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Like comparatively, I thought it was a really good episode for the series. I thought it was an all right season for the Trek universe.
See, I think season 2 was better.
I didn't really like season 2.
See, I think that if you take out with season 2, if you take out Mr. Mansplain at the beginning of season 2, because that was just offensive, and you take out his
roommate was Cation. Okay,
I don't give a crap about his roommate. I'm just saying.
Did I tell you when he first said that right before he died? I thought he said his roommate was Asian. I thought they were going there. I thought they were going full SJW on that when I first heard it. I was like, really? But anyway, yeah, I didn't like that character either. That was really stupid.
Well, so take out Mr. Mansplain at the beginning because that was just offensive, and then you take out the apology tour crap at the end, and scale that stupid battle down because that battle. Take out the ridiculous drones and shuttles, and if you're going to have a battle, you make it a battle of 2 starships versus a couple of Section 31 starships, not a battle of 7,657 shuttles, because that was stupid.
Right.
So you tone that down, and honestly, you could have something really good. I think that Spock and Michael Burnham's relationship felt genuine. It felt like a brother and sister the way they bickered. I like that. I think that Pike really added gravitas to the show, and he added something that we did not have at all in season 1, which was a feeling of an optimistic character and a character with a strong moral compass. Pike felt like he was a Starfleet captain. He didn't feel like he was just another nihilistic character that didn't give a crap about anything.
I know they didn't go in on it or as into it as much as you'd wished, but I liked the fact that it was at least hinted at and then brought up a few times that he was religious.
I thought that was interesting too, and yeah, like you said, I wish they had gotten into it because I wanted to see him and Michael argue about it. I think that could have been interesting.
I think they did a little. I think they went into it a little bit more than just that one notion. But it was.
I'd have to rewatch the season. I think they only really discussed it the one time. But
right. But I mean, when you watch his actions, I think it's reflective. There were some things in there that felt very something you would expect from someone who was like Christian and whatnot. It was never outwardly said beyond that one specific conversation.
So I think Pike elevated the show. I think Spock and Burnham's relationship, and even though I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that Burnham was Spock's adopted sister, I do think that in that episode or in that season, Spock and Burnham's relationship elevated the show. I think that Burnham and Sarek drug the show down in season 1. but I think Burnham and Spock elevated the show in season 2. And so I think all of that made season 2 feel a lot more like Trek. What could have helped a lot more is that if season 2 took place on the Enterprise instead of Discovery, because the Enterprise is a hell of a lot better looking ship than Discovery. But unfortunately, it was still set on the pizza cutter in space.
Well, I mean, that's the name of the show, but with the exception of the Doctor Who technology I liked when the Enterprise basically sacrificed itself too, which I thought was pretty cool. Because when Pike saw what they were doing, and then he just turned the ship so that it took the brunt of it.
Oh yeah, that was nice. It's just all those shuttles were just such a stupid distraction. So I want to say thank you. Orville Nation throws $5 in and says, "Hey Salty, the Orville season 3 is where it's at." Boom, and 3 explosions.
It hasn't come out yet, has it?
No, it has. We're probably going to see Orville season 3 at the end of the year, like around Christmas, is I think what they're shooting for. Okay. And I will say this, because I don't know, when was the last time you watched season 2 of Orville?
It's been a couple of months. TNG is now on Hulu. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I actually, because I've been doing a rewrite kind of thing on Sacrifice of Angels. I did a side-by-side, and I'm going to do a video about it as a follow-up to my Sacrifice of Angels stuff that I've been doing. I watched Identity Part 2. Which is their kind of version of Sacrifice of Angels. Right. And I gotta say, I'm not talking about the visual effects, because obviously I know Orville had the advantage of newer visual effects. So not counting the visual effects, Seth did it better.
I saw your live stream, or bits and pieces of your live stream. The one thing I'll say that I try to give them slack for is that when you look at stuff done like now, or even within the last few years, the style of writing and the way they're writing and what they're writing for is different too. So I try to give a little bit more slack for that. I don't think the writing for Trek was as, at least what was generally done was as concerned with continuity or whatnot, or even making sense.
Well, it's not the continuity. What they were trying to show as far as the battle and telling, like what they try to do is, and you know this, like if you're doing an action sequence like Sacrifice of Angels or any kind of battle, you're trying to tell a story in part through action sequences. So you're trying to build tension and tell story through the action. So. What is the hero trying to do? What is the villain trying to do? How is the action progressing? And how are they trying to reach their goals? And in Sacrifice of Angels, they tell you, but you have a tough time seeing much of it. You see some cool visual effects shots, but except for at the very beginning of the battle, you don't get much that really lines up with what they tell you as far as the strategy. They just tell you what the strategy is, but you can't really clearly see what the strategy is. In Orville, they actually show you as much or even more than they tell you.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference for building the tension, because you see the ships, the Kaylon ships, heading for Earth, so you know exactly what the Kaylon are trying to do. And then you see the Union ships trying to chase down the Kaylon ships, trying to stop those Kaylon ships from reaching Earth. So they don't have to tell you, we've got to stop them from reaching Earth. You just know that they're trying to stop them from reaching Earth.
Right. Mike Walterfield saying, Michael Burnham, I am woman, I am all, I am space Jesus. Thanks for supporting the show. I don't disagree with you. Again, I just think, I do think that, I think it's worthy to point out and to show and to do a side-by-side. I'm not saying that's a bad idea or anything.
Right.
I just think that the limitations when it comes to what they could do on screen, with the writing was different. It's kind of interesting because I'm doing effectively a history of Trek type thing.
Right. Yeah, I saw
and,
the first one. Have you put out more on that yet? Because
no, not yet. But what's interesting is I was actually looking
If
at
they
behind
had an
the
Intrepid
scenes,
class, they would
and
have an
apparently
unlimited
battles
number
like
of
that,
shuttles.
shots like that, would take them 4 to 5 days using practical effects.
Mhm.
And then the Battle of Wolf 359 took them 14 days. It's like 2 minutes of footage, 14 days,
Right.
to put all that together.
Oh yeah,
Which I thought was crazy.
It's difficult to be sure. And that's why in my breakdown of the battle, and some people got kind of annoyed with me, but I said over and over and over that I'm not trying to knock the visual effects team, because they did incredible work with what they had.
Right.
And especially, if you consider that these are all practical effects, what we see in the Sacrifice of Angels battle in particular, except for the stuff. Obviously, there's some digital effects like the phaser beams, but those are, by today's standards, very primitive digital effects.
Right.
And by the way, thank you. Indie Tiger throws $5 in and says, if they had an Intrepid class, they would have an unlimited number of shuttles. That is true, because the Intrepid class, as lore well knows, has unlimited shuttles as well as unlimited torpedoes. Despite them saying they have a limited number, we know that they just automatically replicate in the bays. But we also know that now, even though in the Enterprise only has 4 shuttles, they can launch 2,000 shuttles according to Discovery. So,
well, they have unlimited resources to build shuttles too. So
yes.
there's that as well.
And they just build them, and at least 2,000 crew to pilot them.
Right.
Which is awesome. I had no idea that they had, the 400 crew that a Constitution class usually has, plus 2,000 pilots to pilot all those shuttles. I mean, who knew?
Right.
And
well, I mean,
same thing with the Discovery. Discovery has a crew of 138 plus 2,000 pilots.
Right. Well, the AI could control like 6,000 ships by itself, because they were fighting 6,000 ships.
Yeah. Oh, that battle was just a mess.
People are saying my cat ate Spock. He's big. I've been trying to give him less food, but he somehow stays big.
That's punchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, on aggressive stuff. Someone said aggressive cuddling. Mark Alemo has had some hate. Ducat. We were talking about that before.
Yes. So yeah, and actually, someone on my side said you promised you would talk about Ducat.
Yeah. Well, no, because I did a thing. My next video is gonna be why everyone should love Ducat. But Mark Alemo apparently said some good things about Ducat, or that he liked the character, and there was backlash from Twitter Trek handles, as Twitter Trek handles are apt to do, about him being a Nazi, because he liked someone who is effectively a Nazi.
Right. And of course, there's Laura dropping the N-word just to make sure that we get the channels demonetized.
Oh, I'm 100K now. I don't care. They're not going to touch me.
Yeah. That's
Sorry.
Thanks, Laura. I appreciate you stepping on the little guy again.
I'm here for you. But apparently they're calling him that because he said he liked the character, which is just it's just silly. I saw something from a content creator known as Lindsay Ellis. I don't know if you know her. She was do you know who Nostalgia Critic was?
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you know who Nostalgia Chick was? Okay, so that was the opposite of the Nostalgia Critic. They just brought out someone who was basically a female Nostalgia Critic.
Okay.
And so she's known for that. That's how she got a lot of her big start. At least I think it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She did a video talking about how she doesn't understand kids that want to play being a stormtrooper or a part of the Empire or whatever.
Gotcha.
It's a common sentiment that's gone through, and it's frustrating because while Lindsay didn't do it, she was just talking about it. They wanted to cancel Mark for whatever reason, and it's just it's frustrating that people even think like that. I hate
right. Well, the stupidity there, and this is coming from someone, and you know this, but I spent a very
Well, you were there in the 40s, right? You fought against them.
I hate you. No, I spent a good part of my youth doing a lot of stage acting, and I loved. I did a lot of nothing spectacular, but I did a lot of community theater and stuff like that, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And what Mark is talking about is not that he loves the idea of Ducat, that he agrees with Ducat, but the Ducat is a great role. And if you think about it, what villain in all of Trek is better than, except for the seventh season? Forget about the seventh season, because where Ducat goes freaking nuts and off the rails and sleeps with Kai Wynn. I mean, ugh. What but up until the seventh season, there is no better defined and fleshed out and just rich villain character in all of Trek than Gul Dukat.
Right.
And so there is none in all of Trek in the entire franchise. And I mean, even there are villains that stand out. Like, I know everybody thought, oh, but Khan is the best villain of all time. Yes, but Khan was not fleshed out anywhere nearly as well as Dukat.
Right.
And Dukat was so three-dimensional. We knew Dukat. We understood him. We got into that sick and twisted mind of his, and we got to understand just how bizarrely he thought about himself and how he thought he was helping out the Bajorans and all this craziness that was going on. And what an incredibly wonderful role for an actor to have. And so that's what he's talking about. I would kill to get a role like that. Any decent actor would, especially because playing the heavy, as they call it, or the villain, is always more fun. And to get a heavy like that is just, that's like, that's the holy grail right there. And so that's what he's talking about. And so these idiots trying to suggest that somehow he's empathizing with the craziness, those people need to, there's just not the right words of ire that I have for those people.
It's just, the interesting thing is again, I think we have so much going on and so much to worry about that, like with what's going on in Afghanistan, is it really a problem that Mark thinks he likes his character? But I mean,
right.
Even then, the thing about Dukat.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's kind of fun. Jordan said Kai Wynn is a space Karen, but then I was like, well, wait a minute. Kai Wynn, Karen.
Yeah.
It's Karen.
Maybe Kai Wynn is
literally it's the origin of Karen.
Yeah, or Bajoran for Karen.
Yeah,
that's how you say it. But I mean, they're just an interesting thing when it comes to characters is that generally what people will do is give them core values and then just pervert them. And I think that's what a lot of people recognize, because he at times Dukat is loyal, at times he's brave, at times he stands up for people. He has his own demented form of justice, a code that he literally keeps himself. And so these can be positive things. Obviously, he's an evil character and everything, but people can at least identify with the positives, or at least understand where he's coming from. And that's why they might enjoy the character. Or, and I mean, strength has always been something people like or enjoy. So that's why you have people who want to be the Empire or play a stormtrooper or whatever. It's silly to get really concerned about someone who wants to play a character or likes a character. It's if they start doing it in real life, that might be a concern, but people get too upset.
Right. And like I said, it's absolutely ludicrous to think that it would be like if James Earl Jones, if somebody interviewed him and said, what was the crowning achievement of your career? And he said, I really love Darth Vader. And people thought that meant that he wanted to kill people,
Right.
And
or that he was, he didn't think much of other people's ethnicities. I won't use the R word because I'm not sure if that's something. But yeah, like he, especially since it's James Earl Jones. Yeah.
Right. You know, yeah, and it's like, come on, really, people, are we going to go? Are we that stupid?
Right.
And you know, I don't understand. You know, it's like we can't. Maybe I don't know. Are people suddenly so stupid that I mean I understand that there are people that genuinely have a difficult time telling the actor from the character, right? That they don't understand the difference, and that's why
Oh yeah.
you know they see they see Brie Larson going off about white dudes, and so they immediately think that any movie with Brie Larson in it is going to have that as the main character, and so they can't see the difference there. And so and the reverse can also be true. You see a character that in a movie that does a bad thing, like, or you see the Last Jedi, and you don't like. I can't remember the name of the character now. The Asian girl from Last Jedi.
Rose.
Rose, yeah, Rose Tico, and so then people go after the actress because they don't like the character, you know, crap like that, right? The people do that, and and so there. But I always thought it was just this little fringe group, but it's like it seems like it's becoming more and more people are just that stupid.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, they it's like you said, it's people did it. People did it to the guy who played what was his name? Oh hell. He's one of the guys in the Marvel universe. It's the one with the ferret. It's not a ferret. It's a I've Groot has Groot in it. Who's the main guy? He's an idiot.
Star-Lord?
And he deserves that. Star-Lord. Yeah, he got everything he deserved. Like the guy who played Star-Lord got a lot of hate because he let Thanos win, and people don't realize it's a character.
Right.
Just what you say. People get really
Chris
upset.
Pratt is an actor.
Right.
Chris Pratt did not let Thanos kill half the universe. And by the way, half the universe didn't die. Your friends didn't turn to dust.
Right.
You know.
Like the character who played Rose Tico, like we were saying, Kelly Mary Tran, she got it worse, but people came after both Chris Pratt and her after the movie, and they don't realize that it's not it's not the actor, and the actor didn't even write that. The actor probably had very little say in what happened there. It's more the writers and executives than anything else. Star-Lord as a character, though, is the worst. I mean, I think he's probably the worst villain in all of MCU, if you ask me. Thanks for helping the channel, Donovan, by the way.
Well, we could argue about that. I think that's...
Oh, I hope... You know his love interest? What's her name? Green Girl?
Gamora.
Gamora, yeah. I hope she never falls for him again. I hope she falls for someone else. I hope she falls in love with Groot. And I hope he has to watch that for the rest of his days. Wow. I don't like the character because he's an idiot, and he got everyone killed. He was basically Star-Lord was a successful Loki, is who Star-Lord was.
But
a successful Loki.
I think you're wrong, and I'll tell you because here's the problem with what you're saying. Doctor Strange looked at 14 million whatever potential futures. There was only one scenario in which humanity could possibly survive, and that scenario included Star-Lord punching Thanos in the face. So if
it's I understand that you can justify.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
It's fine. I understand that he has to be a successful Loki. And someone who deserves to watch Gamora die over and over.
Loki.
The only thing I regret about that is that Gamora got to come back. That was the only unfortunate thing.
Wow.
Because of Star-Lord. He got people killed. Did it. Sat there and watched it.
Wow.
Half the universe gone.
You are nuts. And Alex, thank you so much. Says $4.99 says
I dare them to cancel him. Help alternate platforms. One good moment of season 7 for him was when he apologized for occupation to Kira Pa-Wraith cult.
Loki by comparing him to Star-Lord. Oh, we lost you. Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I thought you froze up again. I thought we were having those.
No. I was reading. I got a super chat from Alex, and I want. It says, "I dare them to cancel him. Help alternate platforms. One good moment of season 7 for him was when he apologized for the occupation to Kira in the Pa-Wraith cult. I don't. You know what? I'm sorry, but everything that happened after Sacrifice of Angels to me was a waste with that character. I think that it's funny because as much as Lore hates Star-Lord for punching Thanos in the face, everything that they did with Gul Dukat after the death of his daughter was just a waste of time.
Oh, I agree. It was a brand new character. You know, they did that on purpose. I think we've talked about this before.
No, I don't think we ever talked about.
Oh, Ira went on. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Ira went on. He went on record as saying they changed Gul Dukat. They did that to him on purpose because too many people empathized with him.
Any thoughts on new Stargate, guys?
Well, I think it was stupid. I think, I hated him.
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely hate him. And Orville Nation, thank you, throws a couple of bucks in and wants to know if we have any thoughts on the new Stargate.
Well, last thing I'll say is I agree. I think post Sacrifice of Angels, Dukat is the Star-Lord of Trek.
Yeah.
At that point, so I'd agree there. I don't watch Stargate all that much, so I don't. Do you?
I liked I liked SG-1. I don't know much about the new Stargate. Is it going to be a reboot? Is it going to be a sequel? I don't know enough about it.
That's a Trek Yards question. They're really big into.
Yeah, so I genuinely don't know enough about it, Orville. Do you know, PJ? If at this point have they said is this going to be a reboot or is this going to be a sequel? I honestly, here's my opinion. I think it should be a reboot because I think that a sequel with all the stuff they've attached to it, I think that there's just too much. It's kind of like Star Trek at this point. I've said before, and I maintain we should do a full-on Star Trek reboot, or anything from now on, just set it in the Kelvin universe, because there's already a soft reboot for the Kelvin universe. All you have to deal with is the Chris Pine movies, and move on with canon light.
It says development for new Stargate TV series set within the SG-1 universe canon.
Yeah, I think that's a bad idea.
Set within the SG-1 universe canon is progressing, is what it says. I've only watched the first. I follow him. I bet I could get him to come on. Joseph Malazio was the showrunner, executive producer for Dark Matter and Stargate SG-1, as well as Atlantis and Universe. I'm gonna try to get him on to talk with us. But I liked what I saw when it came to. Like, I've been watching Stargate SG-1 because I was thinking about doing a mini-series on it. And I like it so far. But I really can't really speak on anything else. I haven't gotten that far into it.
See, I think that, unfortunately, I think that I get that. Look, here's the problem that we have with these shows, and it's we're gonna have this problem with anything they do in the Trek universe, and they're gonna have problems with Stargate. First of all, Stargate had a tonal shift and even though I haven't watched all of it, I know just talking to fans, Stargate had some tonal shift issues with Atlantis and Universe. Some people really think Universe went way too dark. If they go back to a lighthearted fare like SG-1, then some people that liked Universe are going to be pissed. If they keep it dark, then people that like the lighthearted fare from SG-1 are going to be pissed, which means people are going to be pissed either way. Then you have the canonical issues. Does this mean that if you're going to pick up a new Stargate series set in modern day in 2021, does that mean that Earth now has giant star cruisers and ships and the Asgardians are out there and the Ancient Ones and all that stuff is going on, and you expect your audience to be in the loop with all of this? That's a lot of lore that you expect them to be in on.
So there's a couple of things they could do with. Again, I haven't watched all of it, so maybe there's something that counters this. They could make it. It could be like SG-5. They could set it like as during SG-1 was going through all these escapades, and so now they're doing SG-5. This is the B team, kind of like Lower Decks. They could also.
That would be kind of funny.
Right. I mean, yeah, it would be interesting. I think there was also at some point there were 2, maybe even 3 gates on Earth So and I think the Russians.
The Russians had one, and then there was one in Antarctica, I believe.
Yeah, and I know that the Russians transferred it at some point, but they could also do like a Russian SG team, you know, which that could be interesting, seeing it from the Russian point of view. Not sure how popular that would be right now, given how relations are, but I mean that might be an option.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I just think that there's if you try to pick up where Universe left off as far as just all the tech, all the stuff, all the history of what's happened, it's going to be a lot for any new audience members. And I don't know that you have legacy fans that will love it, but do you have enough to maintain a franchise? I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
And it's if you do, great. If you don't, then the show dies very quickly. So I don't want to see. I'd rather see a
What do you think
reboot.
About Red Letter Media's theory that it
well,
was the
and
Dominion War?
I just think
Jump the
Trek
shark
Yards
for
is
Trek,
probably
as there
better
is nothing Trek can do to top
he's
it.
big on that. So
yeah. And Orville Nation suggests, getting Joe on would be a good idea. Alex Bogey then has this is an interesting question, and I didn't know Red Letter Media said this, but he says, "What do you think that Red Letter Media's theory that it was the Dominion War that jumped the shark for Trek because there's nothing Trek can do to top it?"
Okay, so that's going to be another video. Can you tell me where he specifically?
That's everything.
No, I'm asking Alex.
Yeah.
What do I think that Red Letter Media theory Dominion War jumped the shark for Trek, as there is nothing Trek can do to top it? Well, I think that no, I don't think so. I think that I think that's wrong.
I can top it right now. Borg invasion.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to. I don't even think it jumped the shark. Like, jump the shark has a very specific connotation, right?
Yeah, jump the shark generally means you change the show in such a way as to make it less enjoyable.
Reach a point at which far-fetched events are included merely for the sake of novelty, indicative of a decline in quality. I don't think that the Dominion War. I think there are several. I think Enterprise, Xindi, the Xindi War, I think topped the Dominion War. Xindi War, a magical race of magic, appears out of nowhere, destroys a good chunk of Florida, and then the Enterprise, all by its lonesome, one of the most inadequate ships in all of the Alpha Quadrant, has to go into this nexus of space, which again is magic, nexus of magic, and try to figure it out to fight a race that is being misled by interdimensional species that are trying to destroy the Federation before it exists, because Starfleet beats them in the 39th century, and they can see that. And by the way, maybe Starfleet, maybe not, but Time Agent comes back to help them to fight the interdimensional. You want to talk about jumping the shark? I don't think that's jumping the shark. I'm just saying they went above and beyond Dominion War.
So Alex says it was, just so you know, it was in their Discovery Season 1 review, which honestly, if you look at now I haven't seen their Discovery Season 1 review, but if you're trying to compare the Dominion War to Discovery, it's like night and day right there. I mean, you're looking at classic legacy Trek, as Lore would call it, to the worst of the modern era Trek.
Right.
And so, I mean, honestly, you want to talk about Trek jumping the shark, it's called the Vulcan Hello. That's Trek jumping the shark right there.
I mean, I think there are a lot of instances. I don't know that there's ever a complete jump the shark, but I mean, there are instances wherein I think Voyager,
the Vulcan Hello, they turned the Vulcans into warmongers. The Vulcan Hello is jumping the shark.
I think that Enterprise did that a couple of times. Enterprise, the Vulcans were so aggressive that they bomb an embassy, a Federation embassy. Well, not.
But we find out that they were under the control of Romulans.
They were so aggressive that that Captain Archer has to help a coup to overthrow the Vulcan government.
To get rid of the Romulan influence.
To get rid of the Romulan influence
right.
once. So I still think that I don't know. Quasar says, if you invite me in, I could give you some of the details on a Stargate reboot. Maybe at some point, not today. I think I want to get Joe. I'm going to talk to Joe, see if I can get him in on a Tuesday. I think that'd be fun, if you're into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've watched the Discovery Season 1. I'll have to watch it. I mean, I'll just say that I disagree. I don't think it was jumping the shark. I think that there are arguably times in Voyager and Enterprise, and I think that definitely in Discovery and on. Ironically, I'll say this. I think TNG and on are so different compared to the original series that if the original series came after them, you would say they jumped the shark, given some of the crazy things that happened. You know?
So just for the record, everybody knows that Lore thinks that the Vulcans being warmongers is perfectly okay.
They were warmongers in Enterprise. And,
they were not warmongers.
They were warmongers, and not only... Yeah, they went to war with the Andorians. How are they not? You know, they're not warmongers. They just go to war.
No, they were.
He's not racist. He just doesn't like.
They didn't trust the Andorians. They didn't straight up go to war.
They did. They set up simply a rip-off of
an entire fleet off the Andorian
Better way of putting it was that the Dom War was so good the bar is too high.
Along with the Enterprise, by the way, they attacked the Enterprise as well. Of course, the Enterprise shot them first, but.
And Alex says, and thank you again, Alex says, no, Lore, the Xindi attack on Florida was simply a ripoff of 9/11. Better way of putting it was that the Dominion War was so good, the bar was too high. I think that there's some truth that the Dominion War was a tough act to follow. That there is some truth to that the Dominion War, I think, made Voyager feel very anticlimactic. There was nothing that Voyager could do. Like Year of Hell could have been their Dominion War, but then they wimped out and made it the two-parter of Hell.
Wasn't it? But I thought you told me this too. It wasn't doing well at the time, though, right? The Dominion DS9 stats, or were they? Maybe they were.
Well, Star Trek was never a huge, the second generation of Trek was not as far as the TNG did pretty good in the ratings. Deep Space Nine did not do as strongly as TNG, but it was solid.
Right.
It just wasn't like TNG numbers. And I think that to expect TNG numbers when you don't have the novelty of, hey, Star Trek is back, I think that would be a mistake. And well, honestly, none of the subsequent shows after TNG had the numbers that TNG had.
Well, I mean, TNG wasn't just doing well for like TNG was blowing everything out of the water. It was like an unreasonable
for a syndicated show was crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
But I think that I think that maybe they had expectations that were too high, and Les Moonves was not real big on Trek anyway. But the Dominion War, I think, was fine, was a good idea. I think that the Year of Hell concept for Voyager was a good idea that they then unfortunately reduced, like I said, to the two-parter of Hell. I think that Scorpion could have been a year-long arc, and that was a two-parter. I think Voyager was a lot of missed opportunities.
Right. Well, the thing is that what happened to the Year of Hell would have happened to the Dominion War if because Berman was keeping a close eye on Voyager, because that was the most recent one, which is why I think the Year of Hell probably didn't go. Because I'm sure you've heard, the Dominion War was only supposed to be like 4 episodes, like right next to each other. And Starfleet was supposed to lose. I'm so glad they didn't go with that.
What were they going to do? Just end the Federation?
No, I don't know what they were going to do. They never really talked about how they were going to do it. But the original plan was Dominion War was only going to last like 3 or 4 episodes with a Starfleet loss. But that got scrapped, thank God.
Yeah, that would have been a bad idea.
Right.
I think that honestly, I think the Dominion War, ending with the end of the series was fine. As far as because the series ended with the signing of the surrender of the Dominion,
Right.
but the uh, but the Pa Ray thing was stupid. I think that they were trying to look for other things to do with the series, that they just and turning the emissary into a half god thing was ridiculous.
I think I'd say, and someone kind of pointed this out, but I think I might argue that the Dominion War was the true beginning of the end of maybe Roddenberry's outlook on the Federation. I think you saw it in Undiscovered Country and Wrath of Khan and in season 3. But I think the Dominion War really ultimately said, we don't care what Roddenberry wanted, we're going to do it our way. I think you could argue that maybe.
I think that Roddenberry's vision died when Where No Man Had Gone Before was produced.
Okay.
Roddenberry's vision was The Cage. He took credit for a lot of stuff that he didn't do, and I mean, ask people like Alan Dean Foster. That's what Roddenberry does, and you know that.
Well, but what I'm saying is that he did still. Yeah, I agree. If superpowers exist, his was taking credit for things he didn't do.
Right.
I agree, but I think that he still had sway, and he still had like his book and whatnot.
Right. And I know he didn't. The one thing that he really did push into Trek, and unfortunately, it had a lot of impact in TNG, was no interpersonal conflict, which I did love, by the way. That joke in Lower Decks.
Right, I know we're
I know we're not supposed to have interpersonal conflict, but I really hate her. That was great. But that was the Roddenberry doctrine. That was like the one thing that for some reason stuck. And I'm glad that the way they got around that with Deep Space Nine, and this is where Deep Space Nine kind of broke that, was by saying, hey, what if we make 3/4 of the cast non-Federation?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what. And that was a part of the Maquis too. The Maquis, the reason they wanted to do the Maquis.
Yeah, and Voyager, we say, hey, what if half the cast is Maquis instead of Federation? Right. Bam, problem solved. Right. Except they didn't do anything. It's like, oh well, guess we're idiots. I can't. And Ronald D. Moore was like, yeah, okay, I'll work with you. What? That's what. Bye. Let me go do Battlestar Galactica. Have a nice day.
Right.
Which I don't blame Ronald D. Moore one bit for. Plus, Battlestar Galactica it's funny because, I don't know if you listened to his podcast on it, but basically Battlestar Galactica was what Ronald D. Moore wanted to do with Voyager.
Right.
And
that's why he got mad.
Yeah. And imagine if Voyager was written that well. Right. But yeah. With President Roslin is Janeway and Adama is Chakotay. That's what he wanted to do, and no, instead we got the watered down crap that we got. Anyway, before we wrap up, let's talk about what a jerk you are and how you decide to one up me.
With the Shatner thing.
Yeah. So you guys know, a week ago, I had this random guy decide that, even though he has nothing to do with CBS or Viacom or any of that, decides to file a DMCA against me, claiming that he owns DS9 and, files a false DMCA against one of my videos and all that crap. And so, yeah, whatever, I'm dealing with it. And so what does Lore do? Well, he decides, that's not enough. I'm going to get the Shat himself to get pissed off at me. So tell everybody about that story.
I think this is actually the second time he's done something like that, because he told me to get a life when I asked him how he feels about people who talk about his existence as Kirk for a living. But what what effectively happened is apparently this company used one of his promotional pictures and one of his sayings to promote their cryptocurrency. And so he was talking about suing them or whatever. And this one guy said, you can't use anybody's likeness or anything without their explicit permission. It's against the law. And I was like, well, no, you can under fair use. That's what I do for a living. And something was up with his Twitter handle where you don't see it when he responds. You actually have to hit a button to see his. And so Shatner thought that I was talking to him. And so he retweets me because he thinks I'm telling him something that, I mean, everybody with a pulse knows, or anybody who's not unintelligent knows. And, where the hell is it now? I lost it too. He says, stop being silly. You aren't a crypto company that's telling its users to sign up and invest using my name and image. That's a commercial use of my name and image, not a meme. And so he just goes hard on me and gets 189 likes, 19 responses now. And he completely misunderstood what I was saying. But yeah, I've been actually, while we've been talking and stuff, dealing with that too. People are responding because they're not intelligent. It's wonderful. I love it.
So Lore has pissed off the Shat.
Right.
Which is brilliant of you, Lore. Just brilliant.
He says, Ryan helping out the channel says, Trekker needs to look up Roddenberry's middle name and he'd know that not all of Roddenberry's ideas were great. I think you're saying that all of his ideas were great anyway.
Do
you know his middle name, by the way?
I do not. What is his middle name?
Wesley.
Oh, wow. Shut up, Wesley. I am, I actually had a video up for the longest time on my channel. So, because for those of you that don't know, over on Laura's channel, while I'm called the Salty Trekker, my name used to be the Anti-Trekker. I changed it to the Salty Trekker because too many people thought, well, Anti-Trekker, why do you hate Star Trek? And I got tired of trying to explain that I don't hate Star Trek. So
you have a video up about that.
Yeah, and I had a video called "Why I Call Myself the Anti-Trekker," and in that video I said, you know what? I love Star Trek, but I'm not a big fan of Gene Roddenberry, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that Gene Roddenberry put out this pilot with an all-white cast, by the way, and here's the hilarious thing to me: he in this pilot with an all-white cast. Okay, full disclosure, he did have one Asian extra as a transporter chief. If you look carefully, blink and you'll miss it. There's an Asian guy with big Coke bottle glasses on, and he looks like an Asian stereotype. But anyway, so but all white cast for the most part. And in this documentary that he's filmed on the set of Star Trek: The Next Generation for the VHS release of The Cage, he actually brags about casting not an all-white cast. That's his words. He's like, that he pissed off the networks by casting diverse cast, meaning not all white. You look at the cast and it's all white. What is he even talking about? He is a master of manipulation. He lies about this stuff because the diverse cast, that came from Gene Kuhn and DC Fontana, not Gene Roddenberry. That came later. And so I get, you can tell, I get a little salty about this. I apologize for just a second, but I get a little testy about this stuff because I know the truth behind some of this stuff. I love Star Trek with a passion, but I can't stand the fact that Gene Roddenberry just built a brand around himself for other people's work, because Gene Kuhn, who died in the early 70s, deserves way more credit than Gene Roddenberry. And nobody knows that name, even though his name is at the end credits of every episode of the original series.
Right. Yeah,
Shoot, and you're right, Thomas. I am so sorry. I hope I promised that I would not throw shade at Gene Roddenberry this week because it's his birthday this week. I am truly sorry. I didn't mean to.
Who cares
I blame Lore Reloaded. It's his fault. I apologize, PJ.
Why can't we talk about people when it's their birthday?
Because I told PJ I wouldn't do it this week.
Why?
Because it's his birthday.
Oh, okay. Hey, hold on. Just so you know, I'll remind you, the week of April 20th, there was a certain young lad who
A certain young lad.
He was because he was born April 20th, who did paintings and stuff and wanted to be a painter. Unfortunately, he went into politics. Well known for 1940s, so I'm not going to let you talk bad about him in the week of April 20th.
First of all, the only young lad that was born on April 20th that matters is sitting right here, so don't give me that crap.
You have the same birthday as him? I guess you do, don't you? That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh, I'm going to remind you of that every year now.
You know that.
No, I knew. You're right. When I think about it, I knew it. I just didn't know that you had the same birthday as a dude whose name rhymes with Kittler.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Did I know that?
That he was born April 20th.
Of course I knew that. I get flack from that. Man, when I was a kid, it's like when I was a kid and we'd like, oh, let's look up famous people born on your birthday. And people would say, oh, look, I got, some famous celebrity. Oh, look, I got this historical figure. Oh, look, I got Adolf. Great,
Apparently, Noreen Shat. Oh yeah, something happened. But I don't think someone just put in the comment. By the way, Lisa, thanks for supporting the channel. I always love having you here. Noreen Shatner's death was mysterious. Did you hear about that?
That was William Shatner's wife that died. Was that, if I remember correctly, the one that drowned in his pool? She did. Yeah, that was that. I remember hearing the 911 call from William Shatner at the time. It was
yeah. She had Valium and alcohol. Oh, that's unfortunate. Anyway, okay. Anyway, what's going on? What are we talking about?
But anyway,
Adolf. You and Adolf.
Yeah, me and Adolf. Yeah.
H reborn is what someone just said. That's horrible.
Well, if you go back a little further, Napoleon also.
Did Napoleon have that birthday?
Yeah.
That's a bad day.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, one other, just a coincidence, but Muhammad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as in the Muhammad, yes.
That checks out.
Yeah. So why not? So, and George Takei. Hey, at least I got George Takei.
There you go.
Oh my. So I got him. So that's like the only decent person born on my birthday is George Takei.
I mean, it's a good lineup there, though.
What? Muhammad, Napoleon, Adolf, and George Takei. Yeah, that's awesome.
You share a great lineup there. Y'all should start a baseball team.
Yeah. Oh man.
So, but yeah, what were we talking about?
We were talking about what a jerk you are.
Why am I a jerk? That's funny. I would enjoy that, man. I'd love that.
You were a jerk to William Shatner, and he's mad at you.
Oh no, I'm gonna lose so much sleep. I mean, you love Shatner. You got to meet him. When
I met him, he was actually really nice to me.
Yeah. Plus, he didn't care about anybody else. He just talked to you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely not expecting that. That was the cool thing, was that. Now, granted, I felt bad for all the other people that paid $200 to get the autograph.
You didn't care at all. You loved it.
I did love it, but I also afterwards felt bad that all the. Now, granted, I know all those people eventually got their autographs, but still, they had to wait a little longer.
He was 30 minutes late too, wasn't he?
He was, and the next day he was sick as a dog.
Yeah.
He looked awful the next day. That's the same day we got that wonderful footage of Michael Trucco and Jamie Bamber.
Right. Yeah, I have that somewhere. I found that and I kept it. I think it's on one of my hard drives.
Yeah.
Where it's like you should watch The Gaming Heretic. It's not very good though.
Yeah.
He felt so bad about it too. What was his? Because we had both of them.
Yeah.
And the one who played not Starbuck but Apollo.
Yeah.
Do you remember he apologized afterwards? He felt bad about
it. He said, "Hey, this is Jamie Bamber from Battlestar Galactica, and you're watching Heretic Gamer, but I don't really know why."
And then immediately after, though, he turns to us. He's like, "That's so horrible. I'm sorry." Or whatever. And then,
I think Michael Trucco said something like, "You're watching the Gaming Heretic. Something like the destruction of humanity is now complete," or something like that.
And then Frakes turned us down.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
And I still have it's buried away somewhere upstairs, but I still have the autographed picture of them. Just so you guys know, so I have an autographed picture of the four of us. So me, Lore, and then Michael Trucco and Jamie Bamber. And Michael Trucco signed it saying, "Pastor Mike blows," and Jamie Bamber signed it saying, "Gaming Heretic sucks," which unfortunately we don't use those names on YouTube anymore. But, if only I could go back and say, "Hey, could you change that to Salty Trekker and Lore Reloaded?"
Yeah, well, that'd be fun.
That would be awesome. If they ever were at a convention together, I would bring that picture and say, "Hey, could you cross this out and write?"
That'd be great. Have them do that. Yeah, that'd be funny.
And you know what? I'll bet you they would do it. I bet.
Yeah, they're really cool. Frakes would have done it too, I'm sure, but he was by CBS.
Yeah, he had contractual stuff.
He would have done it for sure. All right, well, I guess that was a good show. We learned a lot today.
We did. We learned that Lore Reloaded, likes pissing off William Shatner. That's what I take away from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, where are we going to go with this? I guess I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Salty in the sheets, reloaded in the streets.
What?
Don't act like you don't know what that is.
No. And Ensign Ricky, thank you so much. Throws $5 in. Says, "If I had to pick my top 3 people that influence and push Star Trek the most, I'd pick Gene Kuhn, Harv Bennett, and Michael Piller." Those are 3 good people to pick.
I'll tell you, there's a name that you really probably like a lot that you just don't realize. Lisa Klink was a huge writer for DS9 and Voyager. She did some of the best episodes in those 2. Seriously, you guys should go look her up.
Did she write like some of the Dominion War stuff, or?
She wrote some of the Dominion War. She wrote some of the really, really beloved Voyager stuff. Mm-hmm. She wasn't like the main writer or anything. She was just on the writing staff. But yeah, she's a pretty cool person. I actually like her.
Yeah, and absolutely don't forget about Lucille Ball. We wouldn't have gotten Trek in the first place if not for her.
That's true.
And Salty in the sheets and Lore will be doing a slow, seductive striptease. Well, that is what Lore likes to do. Although not so slow and not really seductive. He just like rips it off and runs around. That's kind of his thing. He's not slow and seductive, more like just blatant and like okay, here it comes, get ready. It's not like oh yeah, here's something nice and subtle. No, it's more like here comes the freight train. I hope you're ready. So.
All right. Well, and last we must be going.
Yes, indeed. All right. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and thank you all that have contributed to either of our channels, but especially those that contributed to mine, because you guys are better than those that contributed to Lore's, and because you help the little guy, not the big 100,000 rich YouTube.
I mean, I have 2 kids to take care of that can't fend for themselves, and I'm a single dad all by myself. But it's whatever.
Oh, compare that to the guy who's literally dying here. So
I mean, aren't we all dying though?
No.
Oh, none of us are dying. Well, not none of us, but all of us are dying.
Wow, you just some people. I tell you.